That's the doorbell at Jimmy's house. Now, when you come to my house, my doorbell sounds like this.
Hey, you're listening to the People's Weekly on peoplesradiounited.com. I'm Tim Best Buds. I'm here with Nolan Hack and St. Louis Gell right now. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Yeah,
Same here.
More people are coming in. We started late because
Skype's a bitch.
Yeah.
There's no reason to sugarcoat this. Skype is a bitch. The new update is ridiculous.
Yeah, so why don't we just start off with you guys telling us what's coming up with what you're doing real quick, and I'm going to keep trying to get people on while you do that.
Well, this isn't so much what I'm doing, but I just wanted to say this because I just learned about this today. It's one of those things when you are like living in such a colonized nation and state, these things don't hit your brain as quickly as they should. And I just read it from the Wikipedia page since it's simplistic here. The Angola Three are three former prison inmates, Robert King, Albert Woodfox, and Herman Wallace, who were put in solitary confinement in Louisiana State Penitentiary in April 1972 after the killings of a correction officer. Each was kept in solitary confinement for more than 25 years. Two of the men served more than 40 years, each in solitary. King spent 29 years in solitary before his conviction was overturned, and he was released. Wallace was released on October 1st, 2013, after more than 41 years in prison. Albert Woodfox's unconditional release was decided on June 10th, 2015, after 43 years of solitary confinement. On November 20th, 2014, Woodfox had his conviction overturned by the U.S. Court of Appeals. In April 2015, his lawyer applied for unconditional writ for his release. Woodfox was released on February 19th, 2016, after the prosecution agreed to drop its push for a retrial and accept his plea of no contest. And I just wanted to share that there.
That was a big case in late 2014, trying to get awareness around Woodfox because they had overturned the conviction and refused to let him out, and it was a long fight. I didn't till 2016 to get him finally to be able to walk out of jail, and he had spent that solitary confinement. That was a case that drives me insane.
And Herman Wallace died in 2013. He was 71, liver cancer. But like you said, Gal, that's that long in solitary confinement. I don't understand how those dudes hung on for that long.
That's torture.
That is torture.
The United Nations had actually. The United Nations had ultimately had sent multiple reports, and of course we know the United Nations can't do shit in the United States, but they kept raising awareness about it as well. ACLU was on it for over 2 decades, fighting for specifically Woodfox. On top of that, he was the one that the Louisiana State prosecutor, I believe it was in late 2014, just absolutely refused to even accept the overturn of his conviction. It was one of the craziest cases. I shouldn't say that. There's so many.
Yeah. So you're talking about anybody involved or was with the Black Panthers. So many of those cases. I met and befriended a brother named Eddie Conway, who was a Panther and spent over 30 years in prison just because he was a Panther and he was black. So but I just wanted to share that one in particular because I sadly just learned about it, and I can't imagine doing a week in solitary, let alone 25 years or 40 years.
Right.
Wow. So what's going on with you, Gel, and Top and Kier and Top Gear Live? I mean, in the non-UK.
We have a show on Sunday. I don't know what it's about because nobody tells me anything. We don't ever know what it. Very rarely do we. I'm not allowed to plan. I told you this.
This is the problem. This is the problem with Top coming in late and Gear coming in late because you, like you said before, you're not a good promoter.
Well, on top of that, yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a show. I haven't seen anything. Nobody's told me anything. I don't think that. Usually, we find out an hour before the show what we're doing it on. Seriously, because what's the point at this? And it makes a good point. Even though I like to plan, and I'll plan for days in advance. What does it matter when, by the time, if we were to put out a plan now by Sunday, all the news has changed and something huge has happened. So we just go with the flow. Cool.
As far as People's Radio, we just did a few really good shows. We did an I Fought the Law with Steve Shagwell. He interviewed, what was his name? Andrew Henderson, I believe was his name. I'm not positive on his last name, but he's a cop watcher, and it was a really good episode. It made me rethink a lot of the things I'm doing when I film the police, as far as being less aggressive, maybe in case I have to go to court. It looks a lot better to a jury if you're not screaming profanities at the police and telling them what Nazis they are. Even though it's true, it just looks better in front of a jury. I did 2 shows in the last 2 weeks. One with I Love My Wife about racism and victims of police brutality and institutional racism. And then before that I did one with Leanne DeHart and WIDA Coalition about Matt DeHart and that tragic case. I got more people's manifestos coming. My PTSD's been really bad the last 3 or 4 weeks, so I haven't done a lot, but I'm going to get back on those too. So yeah, I guess we'll get started on the show today.
I just added Top. He's here with us now.
Hey, Top.
Good evening. How are you?
Fine. We're going through what's happening, what's coming up on each one of what we're all working on. So you want to tell us what's going on with you in a non-UK?
Yeah, absolutely. Sunday's show, we have a guy, he's walking X amount of marathons in so many days to raise awareness for child or children's mental health issues and also OpSafe Winter and homelessness. We've got him and his support team joining us. We are hoping to speak with somebody in relation to Matt DeHart. I just heard you mention Matt DeHart and Marty Goatsfeld as well this Sunday. Everything's in work in progress at the moment. I guess you guys have all heard of Marcus Hutchins, malware tech blog arrest.
Yeah, he just got arrested in Vegas a couple days ago.
Yesterday, yes. We are hoping somebody who was with him in Vegas is going to be joining us on the show, a good friend of his. That's work in progress as well.
They don't tell me anything. I came on saying there's nothing planned, and look at this.
What's top secret? Maybe they're doing it to keep you safe. I mean,
no, it's because he just probably found out in the last 20 minutes.
Or that.
Or he found out you were the leaker and didn't want you to leak the information.
There you go.
Leaking is retweeting a tweet is not leaking if the information is already out there.
Not according to Jeff Sessions.
That's true.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Well, actually, that was kind of our first subject. We were going to talk about weed first, but then breaking news came pretty much yesterday about 3 things. One, they're all kind of connected. One is Trump's approval rating is the lowest in recorded history for any president. It's down to 33% now. Secondly, there's a grand jury being put together right now for the Russia scandal, which I believe is more related to mafia, to laundering money for the Russian mob than it is to rigging elections. Yeah. And then third thing is, with all this going on, our dear leader decides he's going to go on a 17-day golfing vacation.
Yes. It's a perfect time of the year for the holiday. It's a quiet time of the year. There's not much going on. Why not get away for 17 days?
And Congress had to pass a bill yesterday to make sure that he couldn't make any appointments over the when they're on break. Because how bad is that? They've never had to do that before. They had to pass a bill to make sure he didn't appoint anybody.
I'd like to say as well, I disagree with you there on Trump's approval ratings, because he's got loads of people phoning him up, telling him how great his speeches are.
Yeah. you know, out of all that, I don't believe any Mexican official, especially not their president, called to tell him anything good. And actually, with that call, with the leaked calls, he was begging the president not to say that they weren't going to build the wall because it makes them look bad. He said, "I'd rather die than have that news come out." So I hope the news comes out. But then,
all that has been swept under the rug. All these things he's promised, or a lot of them. It's like, no, we didn't say anything like that, or we're just not going to. We're going to pretend it never happened and not bring it up. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Suppose Mexico is going to pay for it, remember? Mexican tax dollars are going to pay for a wall for a border. That was supposed to happen.
Well, the second call...
and then in the leaked calls yesterday, though, where he's like, "We know you're not going to pay for it. We know you're not going to pay for it. Just calm down. You just can't tell the media that."
Mm-hmm.
Well, the one person I think he might not be lying about is the Boy Scouts. And I'll tell you why I think this. It's just my little conspiracy theory. Because the president of the Boy Scouts is Randall Stevenson. He's also the president of AT&T.
Of course he is.
So, I mean, with the merger they want to push through, I'm wondering if maybe he did call and just kiss Trump's ass and say, "That's the greatest speech in history. Approve our merger." So I don't know, because everybody knows if you stroke Trump's ego, he'll do whatever you want, especially if you're a billionaire.
Yeah, and Putin's a billionaire, right? He's close.
The richest person in the world. It's just not on paper.
Yeah, if he's not, he has access to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Some of the things he said, all the time. This is all the time. There's one thing he said at the Boy Scouts thing. Said, "Boy, you have a lot of people here. The press will say it's about 200 people. It looks like about 45,000. You set a record today. You set a record." Just telling children lies. The president of the United States talking to children and just lying to their faces. And they can count, so obviously they knew he was lying, which I can't imagine. Can you imagine being a kid in that crowd?
Some of them were way too excited.
Yeah.
Kids see a president. I don't think a lot of the kids are really into politics like people like to think.
I
They're
would
kids.
like to state, though, that 4 kids between the ages of 16, 13, 12, and 11. Those are the ones. Those are my kids, and I can tell you, and that I help raise. They don't live with me. I help my best friend raise them, and I can tell you that they are very well aware of what is going on, and that is right around the age group of the Boy Scout troop.
That's a rarity, though. Because I was into politics.
It's all they talk about in schools, and I mean, it's very this specific, not regularly. Oh, normally no. Yeah. With that last campaign, the media madness is what I'm talking about. They're very aware of the political atmosphere. I mean, I remember when the election, after the election, my 13-year-old ends up getting her ass slapped on a bus and told, "This is Trump's world now." I mean, this isn't out of the ordinary. There are so many cases directly after that where kids in junior high and high school, were having these different things said to them and different things done. So I would state that it's a different world than it was when I was that age.
True. Yeah.
It's when I was that age, I didn't know much about politics at all, and I don't necessarily say that they do know much, but they do see the media, and they are social media people. They're on social media.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sure they know a lot more than I did when I was that age, or maybe some of you, but because there was no social media. But I'm not sure they fully. I mean, your kids are different because they have a professor as a mother who talks about this stuff daily. But you have a lot of kids that they know who the president is. They know some of the drama around it, but you got this guy up here. You got your leaders clapping and cheering. You got all the adults in there acting like fools, cheering this guy on with everything he says about how great he is. Looked like a Hitler Youth rally to me. But kids are just going to kind of follow their leader. A lot of kids will just kind of follow, and a lot of kids also want to do what's not popular. So voting for the evil villain, cheering for an evil villain might be a popular thing to do. I don't know. Just some thoughts.
Well, I'm 29, so in the 90s, I was in grade school and middle school, and I was into politics, and my friends were like, they didn't want to hear anything about politics. It was like, boring. I remember talking about John Kerry once as at the park playing basketball. It's like, dude, let's just play ball. Like, no, but it's a different. There was no social media. There was no 24-hour, not like it is now, news coverage. So it wasn't in our faces. I just happened to be interested in it when I was a kid, but it is different. And I think now the thing that a lot of people don't want to talk about is, like, sadly, the 13-year-old girl you raised had to go through something no woman or girl should have to ever go through. Trump is a president that people in this country can want to identify with. Just like from a much smaller faction and percentage, black people say, "Oh, Obama, he looks like me." It's like so my folks identified with Obama, but now we're talking about a guy who represents what this country really represents, and whatever what the ideology really is. So you have that, like, go back to your own country, whatever color you are. Even there was a photo on Twitter of 4 Native people flipping off Mount Rushmore, and God bless them for it. And some white guy, I guess, took the picture of them or something and tweeted it and said, "Now these traitors should go back to their own country." And of course, Native, this is their country, this is their land. But he represents America, and he represents the thinking of a lot of Americans.
The racists are the dumbest people in the world. Natives go back to your country. The very word native implies that they're from here.
Indigenous, native. I'm from here. All of my roots, or my roots go back here. They don't leave. But racism doesn't make any sense. There's no logic behind it. I mean, who's the number one? The number one racist everybody points at historically is Adolf Hitler. This dude had a Muslim sect of the SS. He had honorary Jewish people. He had an ally in the Axis who were Japanese. What kind of master race, Aryan race, Germans for Germany? Hypocrisy much?
Well, like every racist group, they love having non-white people in there because it validates them when the people they're talking about have some idiots that come out like you'll have some black dude or some Mexican dudes say, "Yeah, all Mexican people are scum if they're illegal," and they're standing there with the Nazis and the racists right alongside because it makes them special to these white people. But in reality, when it's all over, what do you think is going to happen to you, buddy?
That's interesting because this week when Jimmy Walker came out supporting how much talking about how much he supports Trump, Jimmy Walker being from Good Times, of course. Class, do you know who Jimmy Walker is? Am I older than you people?
I know who he is now because I'm looking at him.
That's okay.
Wait, JJ supports Trump?
Yes! Yes!
Dynamite. That ain't dynamite. That ain't dynamite at all.
Kid Dynamite
Yeah.
supports Trump. What the heck kind of world? Oh my gosh.
Well, I'm not that surprised by that when it happens too much anymore, because like you said, that it's the delusion, to quote my favorite comedian Paul Mooney, the delusion of inclusion. OJ had that problem, or in his mind, I guess it was an advantage, and then became a problem. But my favorite athlete when I was a child was Jerry Rice. He's the greatest receiver in the history of football. He played for San Francisco. And he recently came out, I don't know, a number of months ago. He said, all lives matter. He tweeted it. He said, Colin Kaepernick, calm down. My heart broke into a million pieces. But you're seeing this a lot. Stacey Dash, Ray Lewis. It's not totally uncommon. And go back to O.J. Simpson when you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jim Brown, Bill Russell at a podium for Black Rights saying what they're going to do, what their plans are. And you had O.J. going, no, it's all right, y'all. I'm going to hang with these white people, and y'all just need to calm down.
Yeah. I had somebody try to argue with me the other day using a Morgan Freeman quote of the only way to get rid of racism is to stop talking about race. Right? And it was like, that's not the way things work. We tried that. That's where colorblind racism came from. And I say we tried that, I don't necessarily mean us. Yeah. But, as a society, look at how far that got us. But I love the fact when people, especially the person who was doing it, who was incredibly racist, trying to throw that at me. And it's like, no. I like Morgan Freeman, but no.
Yeah, and what sucks about that is the other half of that quote I love. Because Black History Month, I hate Black History Month. Every time February rolls around, I'm like, oh, not this again. The shortest month of the year. The other 11 months are White History Month. Take it back. I don't want it. Put it back in the box and just gift wrapped it and give me here's the receipt. Take it back. So, I mean, I think he's dead on there. But then he says that other thing where he says, stop talking about race, Because when I first started to drive, I'm Tim knows I'm born and raised in Los Angeles. I was 18. So being half white and being around white people my whole life, I'm like, well, if I just talk white, take all the ebonics out of my speech, they won't do anything to me. That's not true, as I later found out, because I was put in handcuffs because of my skin color, simply for driving a car. So you could be silent as you want to be about race. It's not going anywhere,
I'm still shocked. I'm still shocked about JJ. I don't know. I can't get over it.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to ruin your day there.
Yeah, I mean, if Michael Evans was alive now, he would have went against that, because Michael Evans was an awesome writer. The Good Times was about, it was based on his life growing up, supposedly, even though it wasn't really like his life. But I just can't believe. I mean, I know some of the cast members there were kind of really right wing, or like John Amos and stuff at the time, and I can't think of her name. Florida. Who played Florida? Anyone?
Esther Roll.
Esther Roll. There we go. I could not remember her name for the life of me. Yeah, they had issues with Good Times, but JJ, this just devastated me right now. I haven't heard that yet, so I'm gonna have to take more in this for a while.
But I mean, we could do a whole show about celebrities and people of color who are celebrities, who that we all personally love or loved, that we could ruin for each other.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
I tweeted the other day. I was like, I'm gonna make a coffee table book of all the people. I think I said white people, because that's just. I need another book if you included everybody. But Meryl Streep, Matthew McConaughey, Matt Damon. I mean, just keep going. I mean, it is what it is, because of the way that we are conditioned to think in this country. you can't get around the way the education system and the way the media is, because that's how we are taught to think. We're taught to think white is best. Any color is a negative. A male is better than a female. A transgender person is a freak. A gay person, or nowadays it's like, well, if you're gay, I guess that's cool, but just don't be too gay. We don't want you to be, too stereotypically gay, because I'm uncomfortable with that. Which I always look at that the other way. It's like, you think trans people and gay people think we're normal? We're weird to them, because they're not us, just like we're not them. The people are different, but we are taught to fear what we don't understand and fear what is different.
Yeah, I don't understand that. We talked about that on other shows, why people feel what other adults do is any of their business and needs to be commented on. If people are consenting, who cares?
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Like, something happened where all these people on Twitter lately are trying to prove that they're real men and wouldn't date a transgendered woman. I don't know. Something happened with a celebrity or something lately. And I just see all these tweets like, oh, I love pussy. I'm a real man. And it's blah, blah, blah. What the hell? If that was the case, I doubt you'd have to tweet and prove it 20 times a day.
Yeah, overcompensating. Well, I pulled up a list just to prove my point of black celebrities who said all lives matter. So we have Floyd Mayweather. Well, he's a jerk. He doesn't count. Raven Simone. What black kid did not like Raven back in the day?
Right?
Or any kid. Jerry Rice. There he is. You have wow, the name just escaped me. Nia Long, who is Lisa on The Fresh Prince.
No.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that we could do a whole show about this.
Do you think
Columbus Short? Go ahead.
Do you think they're just ignorant, or do you think they really are? They just don't understand what Black Lives Matter.
It's a whole combination of things.
Yeah.
It's ignorance. It's indoctrination. It's conditioning.
It's I made it so everybody can make it.
Oh yeah,
That's a big part.
Yeah, Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson.
Now I'm done for the day.
Yeah. So, on this, I accidentally came across this. I'm going to share it in the group chat that we have among the piece on the show. Okay. Poll, and this is from thehill.com, which is, from what I've read and seen, is a reputable site. Most black people prefer all lives matter. 2 out of 3 black people prefer the term all lives matter to Black Lives Matter, according to a Rasmussen poll.
Yeah.
Thursday, whenever this poll came out, it was 2015. Only 31% of black people say Black Lives Matter, compared to the 64 who say all lives matter. Now, I've seen this up close. I wouldn't say in my original group of friends and family before I joined the movement that this poll would represent them, but I've seen this thinking up close. My ex-best friend is black, and we met when we were 12, as good of friends as anybody can be. And
can I just say real quick, that survey was along 1,000 people. It had a plus or minus 3% statistical significance, and as a scientist, I'm going to step in here and tell you that means it's bullshit. If it's over 0.05, it's worthless. But I had to go look that up. I'm sorry.
It's good, because I didn't want to believe it. But to the point that that is on the table, a lot of black people don't want to put themselves in that basket. They don't want to be for Black lives unless it's their own. Unless it's their mother or their father or their sister or their brother.
It's very true.
And I speak to this personally. I love this guy. I still do. But I had an amazing relationship with this person. The dude got into Harvard. He is smarter than, IQ-wise, he's smarter than I will ever be. And he started saying things like, well, look, I can't blame George Washington for having slaves because slavery was normal at the time. Well, Africa's all messed up because of all the Civil War. I mean, we got to take a look at ourselves, man. So these are the type of things that
I hear the same crap all the time.
Exactly. So and keep in mind, there was a president who just left office who went to Harvard, and his wife went to Harvard. He was black, and she was black. So all that book learning, all that fancy book learning to sound like someone who is uncouth, just to pretend, that does not save you. That does not save you from being out of touch and turning your back on your own people. The problem is it's that indoctrination. It's that forced ignorance. I mean, we grow up thinking that we are wrong. Like black people are like, oh, wait, so it's our fault? That's what we're taught. Whether we choose to believe it or not, that's what is jammed down our throats.
Hell, look at the baby doll experiments that are done over and over and over again. You can find them on YouTube, some of the more scientific ones even, where black children are asked, which baby doll would you like? And of course they always choose the white baby doll. And they say, or actually what they ask more specific questions like which doll is good, which doll is bad. And you're talking as early as 2-3 years old. And, the darker the skin, that's generally what they'll say is bad. And then there's one that has always been heartbreaking that stays with me that I use in my race and ethnicity class where it's this little black girl who points out and says, this one looks the most like me, she's bad. And she's like 5. And it goes with that socialization that starts from the moment we're born into both, we see it with gender and we see it with race and ethnicity. If all you see is, white being good and black being bad or anything along any kind of color lines, even used in cartoons and voices. Yes. It's it's there.
That wasn't in the original Bible. That was put there. Anybody who wants to fight me on that, look that up. That was not in the original text. Whether you choose to believe in whatever religion or not. But so you're right, Cal. It's everywhere. It is, and people don't. That's what people have trouble grasping, that the indoctrination, the propaganda is that severe. It is. It just is. I mean, the fact that Seinfeld was allowed to air more than once, or no, in fact, it aired at all, ever, and now is raking in millions in syndication, shows you that is true. That show acts like black people only visit New York City. Black people and Latinos are 35 to 40% of Manhattan's population. The only character we had on that show was the caricature of Johnny Cochran. And you watch that show, that, whoa, I guess black people can't afford to be in Manhattan. They need to pull themselves up by the bootstraps.
You guys always talk about these shows, and I don't know any of the references. I feel so
I know, we always end up back here, Nolan.
I make it easy for the listener to understand this very complicated and controversial subject matter that we're always talking about. Television's the common denominator.
Oh, I do the same thing regularly. It's just funny.
I just don't know the references, and it makes me feel so left out. I'm just sitting here sad. But real quick, just Canadian Glenn is joined now, and we have Gear in here too. So the whole group's here.
Hello.
Hello.
Good
Tom
to hear.
here live representing.
I will not be held responsible for any decision of members of the group. Thank you.
That's a good.
Well said.
We'll
Very
let
good.
all decisions. We'll give them to Steve because he's not here today.
I mean, when I came on this call, you guys were just talking about this racial sellout viewpoint.
Mhm.
The first thing I thought is, as I mentioned in the chat on Spreaker, doesn't everybody remember when, I mean, there's been enough shows about it now, whether it's People versus OJ or the real OJ that was on ESPN or whatever. But when they first wanted to make his case a racial issue, what was the response of OJ? I'm not black. I'm OJ.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just like this survey with 1,000 black respondents said they don't approve of Black Lives Matter. They'd rather have all lives matter. I mean,
It was just 1,000 respondents. It wasn't even black respondents. It's not even racially, in the sense of representation of the states. It's not even, when you look into it even further, it's not even representative of 13%, 18%, and so on.
Okay, so it was just basically 985 white people.
Pretty much.
But the point, and I'll take the hit because I was the one who put that on the table. That poll is bogus, but
It stands. Absolutely.
Point, yeah, we are afraid.
Boat face people.
What did you say?
Boat face.
Oh, Bodie McBoatface.
Oh,
That's the internet for you.
True. But I mean,
there was a horrible. It's funny because there's one poll I put out I tweeted, and then a follower said, "Wait, this looks fishy," and then I looked at it like, "You're right. Yeah, okay, throw that out." So I found another one that was legit. This one's done by Harvard, and it says when the white children were asked to compare white faces with Asian faces, the outcome was the same. The Asian faces and the faces they perceived to be Asian were described as angry, and the white faces were almost exclusively happy, the children said. So There's your indoctrination, and white power reigns supreme in white society.
Well, I mean, that's very easy to manipulate, though. I mean, especially when you're talking about a younger demographic for a question like that. They have much less understanding of the subtlety of human expression, etc. Because, you go back to children's books and systems that are used to teach children universally through visual means more than anything. I mean, remember Mr. Yuck for poison, And I mean, all you have to do is show a picture of an Asian with a very strong Oriental eye perspective, and right away it will be likened to images that are used to show anger or frustration, etc. I mean, the stereotyping is so in school, it's so ingrained in the way everything is communicated. But I mean, just listening to you guys talk before I came on, it's still, everybody should watch the music video for Rammstein America, because everything we talk about, it seems to be in that video,
America is wunderbar.
Yeah. Coca-Cola, sometimes war. Yeah, exactly. Just, this is how it is. It's great. Don't ask any questions. Shut up and join the club.
Pretty much. I'm looking at the lyrics now. Jeez.
Oh, the video is even better.
The video is awesome. It got all these different people looking up at McDonald's and these big corporate things.
Oh, they get NASA astronauts on the moon with their helmets off in the beginning. because that's scientifically accurate.
Well, it's all part of the presentation because they're just demonstrating that everything's a work, everything's bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried to blame them for Columbine as well, didn't they? One of the groups, along with Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, which shifts the blame. Not the fact that there are assault rifles all over the place, and we treat mental health like it's a cold in this country.
That's the issue.
People treat more colds than they do mental health issues in this country. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, now it sounds like I'm a buzzkill. Now it's silent.
We're not. It's not like we talk about like happy-go-lucky things on the show every week, anyways.
I think it's a difficult subject to try and find of anything positive.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's what I was saying before. The indoctrination is so powerful. And people can't admit or don't want to admit it's that powerful because you're basically saying there's a conspiracy to train our minds a certain way. That's the type of things that you'd hear like a 20-year-old stoner kid in college say to his stoner friend in a movie. Oh man, the government is controlling our minds, man. But
there's another aspect to it as well. At the moment, we're saying that it's all doom and gloom, but there's a lot of comedy around. There's a lot of satire. There's no better time on earth. Since I actually understood the word satire, to be fair, but there's no better time on earth to make a joke out of the dire situation we are in, and it is dire. Geopolitically, it's dire. There's flare points across the globe. You guys, you're saying our fucking markets, our stock markets, we're beating all records. Yeah, with great rises come great falls. You're on the precipice.
It fell last night, by the way. That great fall happened last night after the grand jury announcement.
Right. There's much worse to come. Sorry.
Oh. We keep saying it's true. It's going to get worse.
They're trying to say affirmative action is unfair to white people, so they're looking into that. It's ridiculous. We have literal racists running our country. I mean, blatant. They're not even hiding it.
That's the key word. That's the key word.
You've got literal KKK running the country when it comes to Sessions.
This is the most...
And Nazis as well when it comes to Bannon and...
Bannon.
What's the other guy? I can't think right.
Miller.
Yeah, there you go.
Gorka.
Snow Demon 1, Snow Demon 2, Snow Demon 3. Did
anyone see that meme that was going around of the interns the interns being indoctrinated last year? You don't call it indoctrination, do you?
Sworn in.
Sworn in last year compared to this year. Let me go and find it because it was well received on a.
Yeah.
Oh no! I'm sorry. You can't compare those two pictures because they were taken at different times.
Well, yeah.
That's the argument. Okay, This is not me. This is their argument. They were taken at different times. You can't compare these pictures. I've seen this over and over again, and I'm like, do you know how time works?
I give Trump credit when I saw that picture. There were 2 black dudes in that picture, and that's that.
There you go.
For a Nazi KKK administration, that's a lot.
But,
right?
They were probably there to bust the room. They weren't interns.
They were leakers.
No, but you know what? This is improvement for Trump because before he took office, he would actually tell his people to hide any black people in his establishment when he would come in the door. Yep. So now they're actually visible now. They're actually next to him. So I think you got to give him credit and for the improvement. He's being more tolerant of us as a people. In fact, give him a Nobel Prize. We gave Obama a Nobel Prize for killing as many Muslim children as possible. That's why we gave it to him, right? No? No.
Hey, you know, years ago, this is a true story. I worked at this temp agency, and they sent us to do like catering things all over. And we were in Bel Air at this ultra rich doctor's house. I mean, he had satellite houses around his house where his help stayed. It was such a huge mansion. You could go on the cliff. It was the biggest house I've ever seen, and I've been in some big mansions before. But then, what's the action? I can't remember people's names today. I just PTSD. I've lost sleep and all this. But Steven Seagal, he was there giving a speech with this doctor about whatever. And I remember there were a lot of black and Mexican workers working, and this lady came out. She's like, "We need the undesirables gone now from the room." And what she meant was all the black and Mexican workers. And this was a black woman saying this that was one of their assistants. She was in charge of getting rid of anyone who wasn't white, so the white people didn't have to look at them. All the servers were white with the tuxedos. These were all like the kitchen workers and the people putting the tables together and the napkins and all, you know what I mean? Yeah. But they literally said the word undesirables. That stuck with me. I mean, this was years and years and years ago. It stuck with me ever since. Like, how could you just blatantly call these people undesirable? I was an undesirable as well, but it just blew my mind. So me and a couple of my buddies that were working with me, we just went over, sat there, smoked some weed on the thing, and then took off and left them there. We said, we're not working for these assholes. But just the thought that these people come out and say undesirables can't be around these rich white people, and the undesirables are lower class, mainly black and Mexican people. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's the same concept how the Nazis recruited capos in the death camps. You know, there's always somebody, like, I mean, this isn't just a racial question. This is a human question. There will always be somebody in your group that will be willing to sell everybody out to ensure their own survival. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it's sickening. It's really sickening. That's why we have black and Latino cops working for white supremacy as well.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the Panthers should have had their own precinct in Oakland. Shit would have got done.
Well, we'd have been killed even in prison even faster, but yes, you're right.
You know, yeah, I'm saying if things were actually functionable.
Well, and then you go back, of course, and there wouldn't be any cops at all because before any white people got here, there were no police. Heaven. And things are okay. Yeah. Utopia. Ben Franklin called native life a utopia. Yeah.
I'm saying no cops is like a beautiful thought.
Yeah. That's why I always say we need, I mean, I hear socialism and communism, which to me are words of white society, even though the practices of both things you can trace back to Turtle Island before white people got here, when native people ran the show, and pre-colonized Africa. So let's dig a little deeper, go back a little farther in terms of our political ideologies, instead of just going back 100, 150 years and just finding the nicest looking white person we can find to tell us what to believe in politically. But as for the Tim, you're talking about the undesirables. Augusta National didn't let black people in the dang club until 1990. That is the golf club that hosts the Masters every year. The Masters is arguably the biggest golf tournament on the planet, held every year in Augusta, Georgia. You know, so that undesirables. Hillary Clinton called black men we are emotionally illiterate and super predators.
What does that even mean?
Not at the same time, just different times. She said we're emotionally illiterate, and she also was called the super predators. Undesirables, you know, synonyms for that word.
Well, while we're just on the subject, I will mention that Augusta National, less than 10 years ago, Paula Creamer, an American professional female golfer known around the world, had to get special permission to even golf on the course. Mm-hmm. That's less than 10 years ago. And this is a famous white girl.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think this is something I see in Canada too. Canadians like to perceive that we're so progressive on human rights. Yet we've been committing genocide against Indigenous people for 150 years. There's carding investigations going on in Canada. I mean, how many people...
You need to go further back. That's way more than 150 years, Glenn.
Well, officially in Canada, you're saying officially. Officially, it's only been 240 plus in the United States.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm saying...
It's been a lot longer.
Yeah.
We all know that, but what I'm saying is this official image of Canada.
Yes.
Which is just, this piece of land that was ever expanding that we kept stealing. But as Canada is represented internationally, it's supposed to be such a progressive place for human rights. It's nothing of the sort. But yet, you don't talk about that. It's like when you're at the water cooler at work and a guy tells you a story about somebody else who works there. And he says, "No shit, it's the truth." And then you just kind of look at him and go, "Oh yeah, no kidding." And then you turn around and walk away and go, "What a load of shit."
That's your privilege showing there, Glenn, with your water coolers.
Exactly.
Well, as you talked about Augusta National in terms of what they've done to women and colored people, Bob Jones University in South Carolina. I've been in that, I'm not going to say great state, but I've been to that state. It didn't admit black students until 1983 and banned interracial dating till 2000. So let's just say my parents went to Bob Jones University. I wouldn't have been created because, I was born in 87, so they wouldn't have been able to fornicate. So that's interesting.
And make no mistake.
Start giving out the dates of birth.
Yeah, but make no mistake about this. When they say "Make America Great Again," they're talking about rolling all that back. Yeah. All that stuff we're talking about, golf courses, schools, everything back. Keep the black people away from the side of the white people. Keep Latinos away from white people's side. Again, keep the undesirables away from our great white nation. It's disgusting.
Yeah, Trump is the most outwardly racist president since Harry Truman, who uttered the phrase in a letter to some other white person in politics or something. I can't remember. Not important to the story. He said, I always think one man is as good as another, as long as he's not a nigger or a Chinaman.
Can somebody tell me what local milk people are?
Nobody knows. This is the biggest question of the century, Top.
It's the puzzler of the week. I reckon we should do this as a feature on the show.
Maybe it just means local white people.
Twitter collectively tries to decode what Trump meant by local milk people in the transcript of the call with the Australian Prime Minister about the refugee deal.
I don't know. Weren't a bunch of racists drinking milk to show that they only ingested white foods at some point at a rally? I remember seeing that a while back.
Yep.
Maybe that's what he meant. Local racists.
Well, I'm just posting the article that how it was reported here in the UK. I'll post it to the chat.
I hate taking these people. I guarantee you they are bad. That is why they are in prison right now. They are not going to be wonderful people who go on to work for the local milk people. And this is the same man who's had undocumented workers of color working all over his businesses in the United States. So this is why I do not seek out his quotes or his press conferences, because it's no truth at all. Like, politicians, presidents, you're going to see mostly lies, but this guy takes it to a new level.
But that's the thing. His base, as they're calling it on the news, his solid ground, they think he speaks the truth.
Indoctrination. Make America white again, make America great again, which is, and there have been people, a lot of people say make America white again, which makes no logical sense because even when white people have controlled it, which they still do, it has never been completely white. If anything, which this is true, it was not white at all at one time for for thousands of years. Yet make America white again, and this is why this guy was elected. This is why I think this guy can win a second time, because he represents the common denominator.
I reckon we should make America native again.
Yes, I love that hashtag. I tweet that all the time.
Do you really think nothing's going to come of this grand jury, Nolan? I mean, you really think he's going to be there that long?
Yes, because look what they got Clinton on. And they didn't even impeach, they didn't actually get him out. They got him on sex. You could have gotten Clinton on 500,000 things. And Trump, you're talking about Russia and collusion. Yeah, okay, sure. That's wrong. He shouldn't have cheated. But there are a bunch of things you get him on. I mean, he's holding businesses he shouldn't hold. He's committing crime after crime after crime after crime. Yet it's just this Russia thing. They could, if the Democrats and Congress wanted to impeach him, he would have been impeached already.
The Democrats don't have power. I think what it is
there's no way that would happen.
Yeah, I think what's happening is he's turning all the Republicans against him now. That's why I'm thinking he's attacking Republicans nonstop, and they're not going to stand for that. So I'm thinking they want Pence anyway. They want this evil man that the Christians and the right wing really love. Trump's just there. So I'm thinking that would make sense to get rid of Trump in their mind. But I'm just...
But the evangelicals love Trump. He had all the demons cast out of him 2 weeks ago by Pat Robertson.
Not like they love Pence. Pence is their guy.
I just do not trust the American government to impeach somebody for something like this, especially since they're overlooking so many other things that don't even have to do with any kind of oppression. Like if you're talking, sexism or racism or something like that, he shouldn't even have been allowed to run. I mean, he's holding businesses he shouldn't hold. And people saying, "Hey, you should. This is illegal. He can't hold this. He can't own this business anymore." And then he still runs for president, and then quote unquote wins with the help of Russia.
Technically, he doesn't own them. He profits from them. His kids own them. He passed them over, quote unquote. But right. Yeah, I think
even though Trump Jr. worked for the campaign, yeah, I mean,
the thing is, you have to understand, he has laundered so much money for the Russian mob. And the thing about impeachment and getting rid of presidents is they don't want to get rid of somebody that's doing the same criminal acts that they're doing, because that might mean someone could get rid of them in the future. But if you're doing other stuff, like how many politicians are really laundering Russian money like that? Probably not too many. So I'm thinking, I don't know, it's just my thought they really want Pence. I'm probably wrong, but that's just what I'm thinking. They want to get rid of Trump. They want Pence in there.
Well, I'll tell you what. I saw a tweet yesterday. Unfortunately, it's my fault. I don't remember who made it, but I think it was the best thing that describes this whole situation. And it said, the U.S. Constitution did foresee a president like this. What the Constitution did not foresee is a Congress that was indifferent to it. And that's the issue.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question of everyone? Has anyone seen last week tonight with John Oliver on Alex Jones?
I saw the tweet of it. I did not. I don't watch that show anymore, but I did see that was a topic.
It was last Sunday.
I saw the clip on Twitter. I didn't see the whole show.
Watch the entire show. It just proves what a farce this Alex Jones is.
How the hell did you get to Alex Jones? From right where we were talking? Oh, never mind. I get it. Trump, yeah. Alex Jones, okay.
Alex Jones' folk song is one of the best songs ever written. I highly recommend people look it up on YouTube, since we got on this subject.
But the reason why I brought it up is that he's evangelical in marketing of products to finance it. It's like a self-perpetuating cancer. The more he's on there, which he's on daily. Am I right? A few hours a day his show is on.
Yeah.
And a significant proportion of his show is dedicated to marketing his own products, because if you don't buy his own products, he goes off the air. It's self-perpetuating. It's you need to watch it. It's fucking enlightening. I've never watched the show because the guy's a cunt.
Yeah, I saw that. He's like, we got 30 days left. 30 days now. If I can't fund 30 days, you got to buy stuff. I need 30 days left. That's all I have. Yeah, it was crazy. Like,
$45 million he needs to keep a light on and a camera rolling. What? Turn the lights off, go to radio, mate.
Have him and Limbaugh ever done a show together? Because you think they would do they'd be a great team. Lob
a hand grenade through the window, take them both out at the same time.
Critical planning ahead.
Are y'all sick of talking about all this depressing crap? You want to move on to the reefer, or you want to stay on this?
Well, as it does help depression. Weed does help depression. So.
Well, they're
what are y'all?
What's that guy Cory Booker? He's trying to get it federally legalized. As screwed up as he is with everything else, that's one good thing supposedly. And
Jeff
Sessions.
I got an email from him last night saying marijuana, and that was just the topic. I didn't even click it.
No, he wanted to smoke with you, Gal. That was actually a personal.
Damn it! See, that's what I was hoping for, and no, now you're telling me it's a fucking
Don't smoke with politicians. Don't kick it with politicians. Stay away. They're scum.
That's right. Senators are Bogarts, man.
Yeah. Liz Warren and Booker are going to save us in 2020.
Yeah, they're putting that what's her name, Kamala Harris.
Oh, God.
So that's going to be the best thing, because now they're going to say, oh, you don't like her, not because of her policy, not because she's a corporate shill, it's because she's a black woman. You hate black people and you hate women. That's what the Democrats do. They just try to shame you into voting for their crap candidates.
I don't like it because he's a black woman who hurts black women. That's why I don't like it.
Exactly. Policy.
She is the worst. I mean, they're all the worst, but she is she reminds me of Bernie Sanders, because like you just said, Tim, the left and the voters, Democratic voters, they love Harris. They hero worship the hell out of her, and we got to hear all this nonsense about how great she is, even though she's awful. And if she runs, oh my gosh, that's going to be. I mean, all elections are awful, but yeah, that won't be fun. And then you're going to hear all the racist, sexist nonsense if Trump actually does last the 4 years, and all the stuff he's going to say about her and all his supporters. It's just going to be bad.
Yeah, that's just a crock of crap. They did that with Hillary Oden. You don't want a woman to be president because you don't like this corporate shill. It had nothing to do with her being a woman. Put a Sada Shakur up for president. Watch me vote for a black woman in 10 seconds.
Oh, that would be great. She'd probably step down from her post on Inauguration Day and just say, power to the people.
Take your country back. It's not mine. But anyway, we were talking about weed. I don't know how we got over here.
Because you said Cory Booker, and then Gal got it.
Yeah, I got excited thinking he was trying to smoke some pot with me. I'm sorry, I ruined it.
Yeah. And then Jeff Sessions on the other side is like, we got to make it. We got to shut these states down. They can't have weed, which is from a Republican who believes in states' rights, right?
Right.
What about Jeff Sessions' statement today that he's going to subpoena journalists? What the fuck's that all about?
It's exactly what you.
It's what fascism is. Hitler hated his lying press. They they're fake news.
I'm shocked it took this long.
I still
have already been charged.
I still think that transgender ban that Trump did a couple weeks ago was in a significant part because of Chelsea Manning, what she
absolutely
did.
Absolutely. So I said that at the time. Leaks, information, transgenders in the military, they need to be removed because they're emotional, that they're not suited to the arena of war. Chelsea went there and she saw what she saw. Mm-hmm. non-transgender people may not have reacted as Chelsea did because they just follow orders. They just do as they're told. There's no conscience. It's like that's why we had the Nuremberg trials. What was the outcome of the Nuremberg trials? Following orders is just not acceptable. It's not a case to plead. I was just following orders. That came out of the Nuremberg. I am right in saying that, aren't I?
Well, that's why you can compare cops to Nazis, because it's the same nonsense Americans say about cops. Well, they were just following the law and following orders and following procedure.
Wasn't that Oliver North's defense as well, just following orders?
Mm-hmm. So effectively what your president or POTUS or commander-in-chief is saying, that he wants to dehumanize your military and just have lemmings, sheep and followers that just follow orders and not question their superiors. Now, that's not a chain of command. That's do as you're fucking told.
Well, there's also some major hypocrisy in this, because the impression he's trying to lay is that only hetero people can handle the emotional stress of war. And I'd say, oh yeah, Timothy McVeigh is a perfect example of that.
SEAL Team 6.
Like, they're so full of just ridiculous point-to-point miscommunication. It's like this lie reinforces that lie. Two negatives make a positive. Vote money.
Reminds me of when Lincoln said that black people, we weren't smart enough to be doctors or lawyers or judges or teachers, and not caring enough to date their women.
Lincoln obviously didn't watch The Cosby Show.
Well, that's a whole other problem.
That's why I said it.
Lisa Bonet, you're a hoe. You're a hoe, and you're awful. I'm kicking you off a different world. Don't mind what I'm doing over here, but you're awful.
Well, I've got good news for you, Americans, is that Chelsea will go down as one of the most celebrated Americans in history.
That's great news.
Because of her humanity.
I really hope she keeps going forward with what she's doing, and I hope she includes everybody in her fight. Because what tends to happen when you are a white person of any background in activism, you tend to shut people of color out. This happened, suffragette movement, LGBT movement in the 60s, and that still happens, the LGBTQ movement. Now, I saw a picture of Chelsea, I think it was like a week after she was released, and she's walking on the parade route. I think it was the New York Pride Parade.
I saw that picture, yeah, she's loving it.
And there's nothing but white people there around her. I'm like, there's no black trans women. There's no Two-Spirit Native people who are gay, queer, trans, non-binary, etc. None of us exist. We're not here. So I mean, I
pretty sure they boycotted. Actually, there was a lot of.
There was. You're right. But I've just seen that. I'm just using that as an example. I have seen multiple case times of her in public, and there's nothing but white people around her at an event or a function or rally or whatever. But I'm pulling for her. I'm thankful for what she did. I just hope she keeps going forward with what she's doing.
Yeah, most people care about their class and group of oppression more than others, which is wrong. Everyone needs to care. Like, we're all humans. All our oppression matters. If these people are oppressed and these people are oppressed, they need to work together. And everyone needs to work to help that, instead of saying, oh, my oppression is worse than your oppression, or your oppression is different than my oppression. It's all oppression.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
We can't do this alone. I mean, I will say that until I'm dead if we're still not out of this by that time. We cannot do this alone. We've tried to do this by ourselves in each particular group, and we have failed. Malcolm X, the only way we'll get freedom for ourselves, talking about black people, is to identify ourselves with every oppressed people in the world. That is Malcolm freaking X. It has to be all of us. It has to be us. If we don't come together as oppressed people, we will never get out of this.
That's what Fred Hampton was all about as well.
The original Rainbow Coalition. Sit down, Jesse. Sit down, Jesse Jackson.
Yeah. There's like Gal just said, it's divide and conquer. Mm-hmm. And as long as they keep each group divided, thinking their oppression is different than someone else's, and not realizing we're all oppressed, we all need to rise up and stop this, they're winning. That's how they do it.
And when I say that Fred Hampton was 21 years old and killed for that very reason of knowing that divide and conquer is what has kept us down for so long. And as Gal pointed out, he was getting everybody together in Chicago. And that 21-year-old black man, no, we can't have him alive.
Walked into his house and shot and killed him right in the same bed as his pregnant wife.
They didn't do Castro like that. That was one of the most elaborate assassinations in the history of the United States.
And one of the most unknown.
Mm-hmm. Had that been Castro and they killed him, then we'd know about it. Well, hell, we know about so many of the almost quote-unquote killings of Castro before this particular assassination or murder, because that's what it was. But weed.
We're off weed. Nobody want to talk about weed.
Forget weed.
Did we lose gear?
Cocaine. Now cocaine.
I think so.
Oh,
what happened to? I guess when we didn't talk about weed, Gear was like, screw it.
Oh, man. We need to give her. We need to send her like a muffin basket or something.
I'm gonna try to add her back real quick. I don't know. Maybe she just got dropped.
If she comes on, let's talk about weed. Gal, if you're listening, we're gonna talk about weed the second.
I'm right here. I've got a story right here ready to go on weed.
There you go. She's a story.
I was just shocked that Cory Booker emailed me. He'd never emailed me before. I don't even know where he got my email address from.
He's trying to book some time with you.
Right.
He got your email from whoever you usually talk to for weed.
Oh,
damn it. That's exactly it.
That's the sign you can get out of the country.
Right.
Get her a plane flight immediately to Cuba. Well, not Cuba, because now they have relations with the U.S. We got to get her somewhere.
Get me there. I'm good.
Caymans.
There. Get her an account.
Is Gear here now?
No.
Oh, I thought I just called her. Hang on. I'll try again.
Well, I'll share this in the meantime. Judge orders FBI to probe records of 1950s program that purged federal LGBT workers. And this was a story from August the 1st. Purge conducted a new search for decades-old documents about a U.S. government program to purge the federal workforce of gays and lesbians, including records on the role of a future Chief Justice of the Supreme Court in implementing the Cold War era crackdown. So that's
I would like that story, please. Which is interesting that you bring up, because last Wednesday, which was the day of the trans ban tweets, which I would also like to state that all of the generals and everything aren't going through with that. They said that they haven't been given actual orders, because they don't take orders from tweets. And I actually seen multiple ones stand up and say they'd lose their job over it. So that's going to be interesting to see play out. And it looks as though it may have been a distraction over the testimony of Browder last week, which we can talk. That's a whole other story. But on the same day, which did not get covered the DOJ decided to insert itself into a lawsuit. There's been a federal lawsuit ongoing. You can still be fired in 27 states for being gay, for even being perceived LGBT. And this lawsuit had been ongoing for, I think, 3 years at this point. And they inserted themselves in. Nobody asked for them to come in to the lawsuit and stated that LGBT is not part of the 1964 Civil Rights Bill. So
how can you be perceived as being gay?
Oh, that's if you
that's what they say. I think you're
be
gay.
A communist. Remember,
yeah.
We've been through this 100 times in this country.
So if they say you, I think you're gay, you can be fired for that. A lot of people don't understand, realize that the importance of the perception of this.
I just changed my pink avatar in time then.
But see, it doesn't have to be any kind of stereotypical perceived, and then it could just be whatever reason they want to write down, since it's legal in those 27 states.
But you can get rid of someone who is perceived to be a problem and make something up.
Yes, we know it occurs regularly.
He wears tights. He wears tights underneath his Levi's.
Why are you bringing these stereotypes into this call, Top?
I'm just trying to get my head around
stereotypes.
Well, that's the problem with these stereotypes, because you're being too effeminate, that you're being too gay, and whether someone is quote unquote very gay or not very gay. If someone is gay, that's the end of the discussion. I mean, I'm black. I'm a black person. I'm a black man. I love Barry Manilow. That's not very black of me, but it doesn't change the fact that I am still black.
That's not very black of you at all.
It's not.
I'm going to be honest, Nolan. I'm going to be honest. I had a very high opinion of you, and I'm going to take it down.
Picked up the show now.
He's also the guy who talks about Seinfeld every show, so let's remember that.
I don't. That's out of hate. That's out of.
This is just a race to the bottom now, lads, isn't it?
You're losing all your credibility, Nolan.
It's just going. I see it just circling the toilet, circling the drain. Oh my!
In the southern hemisphere, it would rotate the other way. It's fine. But yeah, it's people's interpretation, it's people's understanding, or lack of understanding, and that's why we're in this problem in the fucking first place. We're all far too judgmental.
Yeah.
Your government, your president is the most judgmental person on fucking earth.
He's your racist uncle. He's said...
he's the racist uncle. He's the pervert uncle. He's the unintelligible uncle.
Jeez.
He's the guy you don't invite anywhere to any family function.
I would just like to point out, and I'm going to point this out until she dies. If she had won, we'd have a similar, but not as on the level problem. You would have had a woman who is protected rapist, including her husband, who is probably a rapist. I just want to continue to point out, again, until she's dead, I will continue to point this out. If he had lost, we'd still be in deep shit anyways.
I'd like to bring in something as well, and I've been thinking about this for a number of hours now. Does anyone recall the hashtag that the left can't meme?
No.
Where was it?
The left can't meme. It was an alt-right fucking thing on poll, and they all went nuts with it. I'd like to bring in the right can't intellect. How is that for a fucking hashtag?
They don't want to intellect.
You can't argue with someone like that.
It's like a pigeon shitting all over your chessboard.
Yeah.
Do you remember that meme? Yeah.
Hate it when that happens.
Yeah, so do I. Never play chess with a pigeon is the moral of that story.
There you go.
Did anybody see that almost all of the Trump cabinet have to attend Bible lessons?
You got to
see that story? No, I have it right here. Christian Broadcast News actually is where this came from.
Well, is that legit?
That's legit. Yeah.
Well, I heard that they all had Bible meetings once every week or two, and Trump is the only one that doesn't go.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, I am a Christian myself, and I don't care what you believe in. But he keeps pushing this Christian, and I'm a Christian, and Jesus. You don't even believe in, to quote Homer Simpson, Jeebus. You don't you ain't even with this, and you're trying to push this narrative through. You didn't even show up to a Bible meeting that you're putting on the table.
Hey, that's his base, though. He needs to fuel the racists, the misogynists, the really right-wing evangelicals. That's Trump's base. Klan and Nazis.
Effectively, it's like ISIS bombing a mosque. Right-wing Nazis, Christian fundamentalists setting fire to black churches. The Christian fundamentalists are white ISIS. How was that?
I've said that.
The government. I would say the government is white ISIS.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said the alt-right was the ISIS of the United States quite a few times.
Yeah. Because you have those types of crimes going on all over the globe because of the government. The worst crimes imaginable. Just like ISIS. It's just
ISIS is a small group like the alt-right. Governments all over the world create havoc. Ours just does the worst.
Yeah. I mean, and that since we are not talking about weed, I'd like to bring this up. And if you don't want to talk about it, kick it off the table. This North Korea thing. Now, I do not support or agree with any kind of militarized action by the United States or anybody like going in there and do what we say, democracy. But what about all the things going on in North Korea by their own awful leader? I do say there should be some sort of added resistance to help the people.
Just so you know, there's been a lot of cyber interventions by you guys in North Korea. Whenever you hear of a failed nuclear test in North Korea, you guys had something to do with it. You do have a method to contain North Korea. I don't know why it's been let slip, and I don't know why it's been let slip. You've got access to their computer systems. You can disrupt their capabilities if you wanted to. I personally think you guys are allowing this to get further than it should.
I agree.
That's my personal opinion.
That I did not know about the controlling the computers, but what I'm more putting on the agenda is, what about the people suffering in North Korea? Because you talk about the America's human rights violations, genocide all over the globe, but you've got death camps in North Korea. He blew his
uncle up with a rocket. He fired a surface-to-air missile at his own family member.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We're talking about a very unstable. I mean, there's famine all over the place. You've got a crazy a person out of his gourd running a country. I would think there's got to be a push for some kind of added resistance to help the people of North Korea, who are some of the most oppressed people in the world. That's all that's the main thing I'm putting on the table.
Well, one of our senators or Congress, I didn't prepare for this subject, so I apologize for not having another name, but I haven't been doing good with names today anyway. But one of our congressmen or senators, I believe, said we should just nuke them.
Okay,
kill all the people. He said before it comes to this country. But you have to realize, if you nuke North Korea, you kill all these innocent people, and then they're going to take out South Korea and Japan. So it's kind of like our country's like, screw those people, they don't matter because they're not Americans. Same thing they do here with anyone who's not a white, rich person, basically.
The thing is with South Korea and Japan, you have treaties, protection treaties, because you need to understand that North and South Korea, there's an armistice. Mm-hmm. They are still at war. They always have been. It's just there's an armistice in play. Now, if you go and commit an action that is detrimental to that armistice, you are responsible for all the lives in South Korea. Some of the largest technological innovations have come out of South Korea. They have understood and proven to the world that man flu is real.
I've heard you say that man flu is real.
What is man flu?
Man flu, yes. The South Koreans have proved it.
Nolan, man flu is when men get sick with a cold. That's what man flu is.
Wait, I'm just confused. This sounds.
It's not trivial.
No, I'm not saying it's not. It just sounds man flu. It's just interesting.
It's like the swine flu for men.
It's a cold.
So it's a flu that only men can get.
No, really. Ultimately, where it comes from is that. Oh God, am I the only female on the call right now? Damn it, Gear.
No, let me get
No. Let me get this out of the way first, sir.
Let the woman talk, especially if there's only one woman on the. Please, God, let her talk.
Oh, no, interrupting.
Every man just shut their mouth and let her talk.
She must have heard me. There she is. Man flu is the common condition of the cold, a mild cold, that men often come down with and think that they are dying. Here, I have the actual Wikipedia page here for it.
You told me, I'd just like to interrupt there because Gary's just gone completely off script of what she tells her students. And that's not to trust Wikipedia.
You're right. Yeah. I don't usually trust Wikipedia, but I have to give them this credit. I know, but I tell them to check the sources.
Now, let me highlight what was found in the investigation by the South Korean scientists. Is the common cold is actually affected by the levels of testosterone in a body. That's the scientific aspect of it. If the more testosterone you have in your body, the common cold bacterium or virus does actually affect the body in different ways to those with less testosterone. That's what the scientific research and study found out. Now, I'm not here to advocate everyone when a man gets a cold that the woman needs to bring him soup or he rings.
No, not at all.
Not at all. We're not advocating that. But there's scientific proof that it affects the male body different.
No, there's scientific proof that... go on.
No, I'm finished.
We should have just Gal finish this subject off. I think that's the best way to go here. This is my
absolutely, totally agree. I'm finished.
Where the science came from was from genetically modified mice, not fucking human beings. I'd like to state that first of all, which is okay. No, it's never okay to genetically modified, but that's a whole other story. But there are evolutionary factors. And you are correct. Testosterone would play a part into it. But we know that when we look at the biological basis, oh my God, it's like I'm giving my last fucking lecture of the semester on gender. When we look at the biological basis for sex, not gender, but sex, we do see that women have a higher pain tolerance and they also have a higher tolerance for not whining when they're fucking sick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's very scientific.
There are evolutionary factors that lead, let's say I'm reading it right here, let's say have led women to develop more rigorous immune systems than men due to differing reproductive strategies. There's one scientific study. There's like 15 on this page, though. That's weird. And they've actually tested this all over because the fucking men have complained about their man flu for so long.
It's like when Trump says that he's received some fantastic calls telling him how great he is, everyone has to kind of follow because we've got nothing else to go on until the transcripts are released.
Right, there you go. We get the Australian transcripts and the Mexican transcripts. So
did you see how successfully I succeeded there, gentlemen? I caused a row and then I bowed out gracefully.
Oh my! Don't.
When this show is, there's a talk, so don't worry about that.
Don't male bullshit your way out of that, please.
And then I blamed it on Trump.
And that's the good. That's good though. Yeah, that'll always work at this point.
Top, right. I'm gonna mail you a package full of man flu.
I've got it's a bell. You can actually download a Man Flu Bell app on your phone.
It's true.
Jeez. So we're just protect. Yeah. Okay. I was confused.
Now, I would like to know about the man flu in North Korea. I have no information on that. So they did actually. Oh, of course, Top. Then be right back, and I'm talking to him.
I'm listening. Go on.
No, we're done with the man flu now. I'm done with that. I want to go to the study that I did just give you guys in here.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
I meant to actually send this out as a message yesterday to all of you so that we could talk about it when it broke yesterday. But there has been a study done. Oh my God, this is a very long article. I'll tweet it out again today and put it everywhere else as well. But discussing the fact that 1,881 officers who have been fired for police officers, of course, who have been fired for misconduct at the largest police department since 2006, 451 of them have been forced, quote unquote, forced to be rehired. And it's an interesting story because originally, the whole long form article is good at explaining this much better than I will. But it goes in and talks about how the chief of police don't want to rehire them. They're often overruled, and lawyers, of course, is who they're going to blame, and the FOP, which is good to, we know the FOP, the unions for the police officers, we know that that's a big problem. But it does also go into talk about how the chiefs specifically but how they go in and actually make errors so that ultimately their officers, they do it on purpose, right? Which I'm sure doesn't surprise anybody on this call.
Yeah, I read that article yesterday. We've talked about how that all works on, or actually Steve Shagwell has talked about it on his I Fought the Law show a couple times, how the unions and the arbitrators and the lawyers all come in and make sure these cops get their jobs back quietly or just transfer to another department instead of getting any problems, and everybody doesn't know about it. So if the public doesn't know about it, there can't really be a big outcry. But I've also talked with some ex-cops on my show, and they said there's police working in LAPD right now that have killed 9 people and it's still on the force.
Of course.
But when you go and look at any of these misconduct charges, those that did lose their job originally, most of the time it's never for killing somebody. Like, those cases don't ever result in being fired until more recently when it's been brought to the public's attention. I want to state that I have been studying this type of police brutality and the lack of holding them accountable since 2004. Actively, regularly studying it. And it's amazing to see that there has been a number, even though it's probably less than both of my hands can count, of those that have been forced to, well, let's say have been fired. Then you get those that choose to resign, right? Are they actually choosing, or is that their way of doing it so they can keep their, retirement, or it's going to be different for each department?
Can I ask a question? Because Donald Trump came out with a statement, obviously, that reverberated around the world, where he actually stated that you don't have to protect criminals' heads as they're entering police cars and pretty much advocating police brutality. Was that... Well, I understand that police departments as a whole came out and declined his statement, but was that a rallying call to those within those departments to do what the fuck you like?
I know you were at a wedding last week. We did cover this because it happened, remember, right before we went on air last week and on this show. And it was exactly that. We discussed that it was a rallying call for police brutality not that it doesn't already occur regularly, but even more so. And you can see the police officers in the background, and in the picture I have, all white police officers just laughing and giggling. And then later on, I do believe it was Monday or Tuesday, there was another formal meeting where Jeff Sessions called out black officers, saying it's their job to take care of the black community. I'm trying to find that article right now. Did any of you see that earlier this week?
No.
I'll find that. That was this week as well, because it was kind of came out after, well, Friday was Trump's speech, and then it was Monday or Tuesday. Let me see if I can find
it.
Yeah, another thing people need to realize is that generally the cops that get fired, a lot of them that don't get their jobs back are people who expose corruption within the police force or stand up against some kind of injustice. They don't last. They don't last. I mean, you see what they did to Christopher Dorner. They hunted him down and murdered him.
Good cops, they're not allowed to be any good cops around. Yeah.
There was interesting. Typing in Jeff Sessions tells black officers, and a multiples of articles popped up for this week. The first one being Jeff Sessions wants black officers to sell Trump's agenda to black communities. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. But I was trying to find a more legit source here, which, let's see, after Trump's use of force quip, Sessions tells police to be lawful, and then tells black officers, this is it, tells black policing group Trump's use of force comments were done in jest. He then goes on to explain how it is the black officers' jobs to, where is it at? I'm not using Trump's here. And says Sessions spent the speech deriding the few officers who are bad apples of the bunch, but also took to task mayors of cities that have experienced police brutality and run down police who are involved in deadly force cases. He told officers that aggressive federal investigations into police departments can undermine a police force's efficiency and therefore need to be avoided at all costs. Holy fuck, I didn't even know that.
That's nice.
Isn't it?
God bless America.
According to CBS News, Sessions all but came out and said that he won't go after departments for mandatory improvement plans. To Sessions, the number one priority is cutting down on drug use in May, blah, blah, blah. We know about that. I'm looking for the exact quote, though.
They got to keep that police state alive.
To put it mildly, President Donald Trump's administration is aware that the black community is not totally with them. Meanwhile, distrust of police officers is also high. I'm just reading this quote directly from here. In fact, in a speech to the National Organization, here it is. It's a speech from the National Organization for Black Law Enforcement in Atlanta on Tuesday. That's what it is. Let me go look it up properly now.
Disgusting organization that is. I thought it was called the Uncle Tom Organization. I just had a different name.
In which Jeff Sessions said that just 30% of black Americans trust law enforcement. Gee,
that's
I wonder why.
High. Jeez,
that seems like a high number for anybody of any race.
Oh, no. It's at 70. No. I think 70% white was the last number I saw, which was mid last year.
Okay, I'd like to ask.
In this country is people.
I'd like to ask something at this point.
Mm-hmm.
The speech to the black law enforcement, did Trump tell any Frederick Douglass stories?
No, this was Jeff Sessions. Trump didn't show up to that speech.
Oh, okay, Sessions. Sorry.
And I don't think Sessions knows who Frederick Douglass is. And,
Trump,
he's Trump's friend.
Trump emailed Frederick Douglass and asked him if he'd speak to them.
Would you go in my place, please? Oh, my goodness. Oh, if you just Googled National Organization for Black Law Enforcement on Tuesday.
Ugh.
And I didn't Google it on Tuesday. That's what I Googled. They are crucial. There it is. They are crucial. Sessions addresses black police as crucial ambassadors for law enforcement. That's what it was. And that it is their responsibility to get more black Americans to trust the law enforcement officials. That's the quote.
Okay.
The actual you, more than perhaps any other law enforcement organization, represent crucial ambassadors to some of the communities that trust law enforcement the least, Sessions told Noble National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. We live in some of the same communities that are affected. What? Oh, that's a different quote. I didn't go too far into it because I knew I was going to get angry the other day when this happened.
Can we flip that? Can we flip that? Joseph Goebbels said this week that Jewish Germans should trust the SS officers and the Gestapo because it's good for Germany.
See, that's weird because that's exactly where I was going to go with this, because what this translates to is the Minister of the Reich for Propaganda and Enlightenment has demanded that Gauleiters get their staffel to support the state. That's basically all it is.
Right.
Yeah, they're not doing anything new here.
And black beat cops have got all the time in the world, and they're trained to be political officers in the hood. Like, fuck off, Sessions.
Gal just put a quote in the chat. As everyone here knows, too often you not only don't get the credit you deserve. Oh, Sessions is sounding a little bit like Obama. But are now in harm's way more than ever and often get the blame you don't deserve. Again, sounding just like Obama in Chicago in 2015.
Yep.
Sessions said, in fact, violence against police officers is on the rise around the country.
False.
No,
yeah.
It's not.
False.
We read the statistics a week or two ago.
Provably false.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like everything Sessions and Trump say are false. I mean, geez. I think kindergartners are in more harm's way from guns than cops are.
Yes. Yeah. Try being a teacher in this day and age. Specifically now, like when I go to travel, people would always say, "Aren't you scared of flying because of terrorism?" Over the last 2.5 years, when I went to the UK, when we went to Canada, aren't you afraid? And it was I think I went to the UK within less than a month after the France attacks. And so everybody was up in arms about it. And they're like, aren't you afraid? I'm like, I'm a fucking college professor. I walk into school every day knowing that I can be shot up. And I'm much more likely to occur there than for something to happen to me on a plane. And they shut up after that because then I gave them the stats. But on top of that, now professors right now specifically are just completely, especially if we are in, the social sciences or anything that would dare speak up against the government. If any, not just Trump, the government as a whole. And as somebody who has studied state crime since 2000, and that's what I am known for, and I teach an entire class on it, that's fun. So, I just wait for it to occur regularly because we're just, the most hated people at this point. It amazes me. I get shamed. I told somebody this the other day. I get shamed for being a teacher, for being educated in this society right now for the first time in my life.
And that is a base feature of fascism.
Absolutely. Anti-intellectualism is nothing new. We know that. Isaac Asimov died in 1992, and he's he has a well-known quote. It's pretty long, but pretty much stating that anti-intellectualism is on a rise in the United States as a sense because people are more likely to question their government if they are taught how, if they're taught that they're able to, but instead just watch the TV and be told exactly what you're supposed to think. And that's how reality TV got to where it is now in the White House.
When you remember when Trump retweeted that white supremacist meme that had absolutely no truth to it, it was a U.S. Crime Statistics 2015.
Yes.
Had a cartoon or a caricature of a black dude with a bandana and something over his face holding a gat sideways, and it said, black people killed by black people, 97%. White people killed by black people, 81%. Black people killed by police, 1%. They just make shit up. Global warming doesn't exist. This is how this happens.
86% of America doesn't believe that science has a consensus on global warming. 86%. That number came out 2 weeks ago.
Mother of God.
And that was a decent study. I looked into the methods of that. I'm not going to say it's 100% right, but that was a pretty good one.
I'm not
they
surprised.
They did a poll of right-wing people a while back, and education was looked at as something that was not needed and almost dangerous to most of them.
59% of Republicans think that higher education should not be, look at higher education with a negative view.
Yeah, well, they were interviewing people. They were talking about how dangerous it could be with these college professors and pushing these narratives and all this crap.
4 in 10 Americans believe God created the earth only 10,000 years ago.
Yeah.
40% of the country. You put 10 people in a room, 4 of them believe the earth started.
Hey, that's progress.
Wasn't it like 25% of Americans said that they wanted us to bomb Agrabah, which is the fucking fictional? Do you remember that? Like a couple, 3 years ago?
Yeah, but you have to realize, Nolan, less than 10 years ago, they thought it was 6,000 years old. So 10,000 is progress.
That's true. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
No, that tells you how desperate the Mormons are getting, that they're accepting people who don't know the full lie.
I hate Mormons so much.
Oh, don't even go there, man.
Sorry to offend you, Glenn.
They'll get you, and the Scientologists will get you. You don't want to land up on their list.
The Scientologists truly are xenophobic in their behavior. The
They're
Mormons,
too.
Well, the Mormons, they want everybody's shit.
Oh yeah.
I don't have any information on this, but this is interesting to learn.
Well, Mormons didn't let black people in their church for a long time. So this is how organized religion is.
But Scientologists don't go to your door in the morning banging on it to tell you some crap. So.
I thought that was Jehovah's Witnesses. Is that Mormons too?
And Jehovah's Witnesses.
Too.
They're horrible with that.
I've actually proposed this to Pastafarianism as well, because I don't think their scope is reaching as wide and its potential as it could. So I've told them all to get on bikes with their pastor strainers and go and meet the public. And I think it's watch out. There's going to be a Pastafarian knocking your door soon.
Yeah, I'm going to start going door to door for FSM here.
Wouldn't that be nice if we went door to door just giving factual information, just like stats about the world, like anything. Racism, science, anything.
Imagine if you was a billionaire, you could just go knock to door and here's a tax break. Here's some legislation. Imagine if we could do that. That's what's happening in the real world, and that's what we're fighting against. Just to bring everyone back on point. Sorry to do that.
You know, we got about 10 minutes left, or 12 minutes or something. But here's another thing. I know it was one of our topics that we kind of skipped over. But what do you guys think about this? Like last week, with our dysfunctional election cycle, our dysfunctional government and our politics are really bad. They decided to have a giant Politicon, which is a comic book convention kind of thing for politics, where people were encouraged to dress up in cosplay, and they let Nazis debate progressives or liberals or whatever. And it was just really stupid, and it gave all these Nazis a voice, and all these supposed left-wing media groups like the Young Turks and all them went over there and gave Nazis a voice, like Ann Coulter and Ben Shapiro and all these people. I think it's a farce and I think it's ridiculous, but I don't know. A lot of people really seem to think it was so important to have this giant Politicon.
I've never even heard of it.
That's the problem.
I've got a question for everyone as well. Has anyone heard of a new crime called state capture?
No.
State capture. That's a charge that's been levied in South Africa in recent weeks. Now, what they mean by state capture is that
it's not a. Did you say it's not a? I mean, it is. It's a regular. It's not a new crime. It's not a new charge. It's a well-studied state capture, and I don't know if it's the same one. I know nothing about where you're going to go with this, but it's a type of political corruption in which private interests. It's like a kleptocracy. It's where the state is captured by private interests.
Yes.
That's what the term itself means. Now, go on with Africa. I just wanted to state that's something pretty well known. I just don't know what they're doing in Africa.
South Africa.
South Africa. Go on with your story. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
There was some immigrants from India, the Gupta family, the Gupta brothers, no less, and they are now facing state charges of state capture. They, with Zuma in charge of South Africa at the moment, something like 9% of their business is with the government. But with the amount of money that they own and the amount of money that's being invested in their companies, they can change state and government legislation in their favour. So they win government contracts. They can change legislation to allow existing businesses to grow, even though it's detrimental to the people of South Africa. And these people are getting very rich, and it's all off the back of Zuma. But there's a UK legal firm caught up in all of this because they've been using social media to blame white, believe this is white discrimination, I shit you not, in South Africa. Bell Pottinger, or Pottinger, if you like to spell it, say it correctly, they've been blaming white investment, white business for the corruption of these Indian brothers working in conjunction with Zuma. Now, there's been a long-running series going on this week on British news, which is quite fascinating. Now, it's like racism and imperialism reversed, which I didn't think could actually occur. But this is quite big. This is kicking off because Bell Pottinger have been using social media to incite racial hatred in South Africa. And South Africa really does not need any incitement to racial hatred. And I just go and look out for Zuma Gupta Law Firm as a Google search, and it will bring up everything you need to know. I just wanted to bring that in because the world really is reversed on its fucking ass.
I saw something about that a while ago, but it was from these like really racist alt-right accounts, so I kind of discarded it because it was saying they're racist against white people or something. But yeah, I haven't even looked into it because of the accounts that I saw it on.
Well, it's very similar to this country. I mean, and this country's committing apartheid against indigenous people. Forcing them to live on the most barren parts of the United States, and what have been called concentration camps, reservations. As you know, the PBS of all people, they did like a series on Steve Bannon. Who is Steve Bannon? And they picked 4 Breitbart staffers to talk about him, and they also had Ben Shapiro. They did an interview with Ben Shapiro. So I mean, you're giving bad people and racists who are not saying really anything factual, giving them a voice. I mean, because if you're going to take the free speech argument that far, and science has also proven that the ones that are clamoring for free speech are the racist ones, so they can say whatever hateful things they want, then okay, let's start hearing the voice of convicted murderers, people in ISIS, Boko Haram. Let's hear everybody's opinion. Just like, climate change is an opinion. Let's hear the other. No. This is facts. And then you have a bunch of other people saying things. And then, because once you have that other side, all hell breaks loose and all reason flies out the window.
I'd like to ask Gallo a quick question, because the information that I was given this week is state capture as a crime was designated and created because of what the Guptas are doing in South Africa. I don't know how long this has been going on for, but when did you hear of state capture?
The first time I saw it in print was about 2009.
In relation to?
Well, the term itself comes about in 2000 from the World Bank. I'm looking at it right now, the actual history. The term state capture was first used, and then I know that we had discussed it in graduate school when I was in graduate school. But also I was a state corporate criminologist, so that would be stuff that we looked at. And then I remember charges being brought in 2009 because I covered it in my classroom. Not in South Africa. This is the first time I've ever seen it. The only time I've ever seen it used before is Asia. So it's not, but that's what I'm saying. It's not a new thing.
Well, that's how BBC Radio World News failed in their reporting, because this week, in light of the Gupta arrangement with Zuma in South Africa, it's as if they termed the new charge of state capture for this scenario occurring in South Africa. So I was only going with what I know. I'm here to learn.
It's not a term that I've heard often, though. That's kind of why, even when you said it, I had to think about it, because I'm like, it's not something like that is used regularly. I've never heard it. I've only seen it used with Asia, ever, and that had to do with the Soviet Union. I mean, the explanation of it and the transitioning away from it was the only time I'd ever seen it used. So it's interesting that it's being used again. That's all. It's just, I mean, again, it's who defines what.
Exactly. Indeed. But yeah, state capture, where it's like a cancer moves into a cell, and imagine that cell is an entire nation, blood wealth, racism, fucking... You know the history, apartheid of South Africa. But Indians have moved in, the Gupta family have moved in with legal representation and have conducted a social media campaign to incite racism, to protect financial wealth of the Gupta family. They're in communications, into diamonds, you name it. Whatever South Africa has to offer, they've got investments in South Africa. And Zuma has been changing. Zuma's not white. I don't know if the surname gave it away. He's not white. He's selling out his fucking nation.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't look into it because the sites when I was asked to look into it, when I started to, all the sites were really racist, kind of right-wing sites, so I just decided it wasn't as a non-issue. But I will look into it now.
As I said, I've been listening to what's been occurring in South Africa for half an hour each day. They've had personal stories, because this is affecting nationals. It is obviously inciting racial hatred to white people in South Africa. Can you imagine? I'm sure in normal circumstances that would not normally be a topic of sympathy, but this is actually affected. This is a distribution of wealth. It's a Ponzi scheme of wealth to the top, to the Gupta family through Zuma. That's what it is, essentially. At the behest and support of the Bell Pottinger legal firm. It needs to be said as well, because there's been commentary from the Pottinger family that used to own the legal firm. They don't anymore, but they are disgusted with how the legal firm is operating today, and have discounted any association with it. That's how bad things are. A respectable legal firm in the UK using a family name, the family are disassociating themselves with that long-standing legal tradition, whether that bears any weight whatsoever at all. globally, the imperialists, the UK, you get the score. It's worth investigating. It's a very fascinating situation, and it's
I'd
ongoing.
be careful investigating it, because I'm going to go with Tim here, that just even the first 3 pages is nothing but racist sources.
Mm-hmm.
Well, another thing is, if they did that, they learned it from what was going on in South Africa years ago with apartheid.
Well,
they just flipped the script.
That's what I was going to say. You can't just jump into something going on in South Africa today without going through at least 100 years of their history.
Of course.
Why? Why? It's in the past. We need to move.
You're so
I don't know what
loud.
you're talking about. He's trying to incite problems.
Yes,
Okay.
I know. I know.
If you'd like to hear an audio version, you just need to go to Radio 4 on BBC. You don't need a VPN to listen to Radio 4 BBC, but listen to.
But you're telling people to listen. You're telling people to listen to a white people's version of something going on in South Africa. British white people's version.
We're criticizing. Look, you need to listen to the first half hour. If you don't agree with it, move on.
It's not about agreeing. I'm just saying you can't just.
The Guptas have moved in. They're utilising Zuma for their own corporate benefit.
And this is coming from the BBC.
The Guptas are Indian.
This is
They're
coming from
not
the BBC.
native to South Africa.
Tom, I'm just messing with you, but I want to state that Tim needs to go, and me and you talking doesn't ever stop.
No, it doesn't.
So, and I told him he needs to just end it, because me and you will do this for hours. So,
Radio 4 World at 1.
so listen.
Listen to the broadcast every single day this week. There's personal testimonies from Black Africans, how this is affecting them, because there's no competition in Africa. It's a monopoly, and it's done by the Guptas, an outside influence, and they have influence over Zuma. Whether you're white or black, Africa is suffering. South Africa is suffering. How's that?
There you go.
Cool. So anything else anyone want to add? Because like you said, I do have to go. But
let us run Africa again. I'll just say that. Give us back our motherland and get the hell out of there.
Nolan, you need to go listen to Trevor Noah and what he thinks about African Americans' take on the motherland. It's fantastic.
I have.
Have you heard that? Isn't it great?
He's great. I no longer respect that man as funny as he is for playing buddy with Miss Clinton and Bill on the Daily Show. But that was a very, very funny and intelligent set. I absolutely agree.
Well, that was years ago too. So.
Well, money changes your way of thinking in so many different situations.
I have nothing else to add, Tim. I know you gotta go.
cool. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks to all our hosts on the show, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for letting us argue.